Good morning. Thanks so much for showing up the day after the party to listen to somebody stand up and talk about sales. You guys are amazing. How many people here think selling is hard? Such liars. Everyone's like, nah, it's good. I got it, nailed it. Yeah, I think selling is hard. Most of the people I work with think selling is really hard. But that's not what I'm here to talk about today. Today, what I want to do is I want to kind of flip it around a little bit and look at it from a customer's point of view. And I'm going to say something that's maybe a little controversial, but I think buying is hard. Buying is hard. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Some of you are thinking, no, it's not, April. That's called shopping. That's actually really easy. I wish that was my job, to just buy stuff all day. And I get it. Buying is good. Like, I like buying some things. I like buying a pair of shoes. I like buying a t-shirt. I like buying a drink at the bar. But if you think about, there are some things that are really terrible to buy. Like, who likes buying insurance? No, that sucks. That's actually really hard. And if you think about it, most of the things that people buy in businesses are actually quite difficult things to buy. So I'm going to give you an example, and it's really stupid, but just suffer through it, because trust me, it comes around to something good here. But this example is called April Buys a Toilet. So if you can tell from my accent, I'm from Toronto. Toronto's famous for having really old, terrible houses. I bought one of these. Inside was an old, terrible bathroom. I hired a contractor who's going to renovate my bathroom. So he comes in and he says, April, you need to get a toilet. And I'm like, okay, I never bought a toilet before, but how hard can that be? I'm going to go buy a toilet. So I go to the toilet store. Toilet salesman comes up to me and says, hi, can I help you? And I said, yeah, you can. I'm here to buy a toilet. And he says, well, what kind of toilet do you want? And I'm like, one that flushes? And he says, well, look, the toilets are all back there at the back. Go on back there, have a look. You know, the prices are there and the features and stuff. You can just look at them. When you figure out what toilet you want to buy, you know, come tell me, I'll sell you the toilet. I say, okay, so I go back to the corner and this is what I see. 9,000 toilets. And you know what? They all look the same, but they are not the same. Like, some of them cost $100 and some of them cost $1,000. And I'm looking at the prices, and they've got these stickers with all these features, and the features are meaningless to me. Like, they have trapways and single and dual flush things, and they have something called a flapper. I don't know what a flapper is. Some of them have it, some of them don't. Who knows? And so I spend an hour in the store, and I freak out, and I'm like, I don't actually know enough to buy a toilet. I got to go research this. So I go home and I research on the internet, and let me tell you, there is toilet technology. Like, you had no idea. There's all these features. There's like water efficiency and seat heights and single and dual flush technology. And there's these freaking flappers. I have no idea what they are. There's like these trapways and things. And then I learned the most disgusting thing about toilets. Now I'm going to teach it to you. There's something called an MAP score. That's the amount of solid waste that a toilet can handle in a single flush. 350 to 600 grams is good. But some toilets can handle up to 1,000 grams. That's 2.2 pounds. It's like a little dog. Right down the toilet. So at this point, I'm like, that is disgusting. My head is full of knowledge about toilets that I wish I didn't know. And then I got this genius idea. Here's my genius idea. I'm like, you know what? That toilet in that bathroom was working just fine. Maybe I don't have to get a new one. This is stupid. I don't want to be a toilet expert. I hate this. So I'm just going to stick with the old toilet, and I can avoid this toilet purchase altogether. So what happened? I spent 3 weeks. I went to the showroom twice. I spent what felt like infinity on the internet. And how many toilets did I buy? 0. 0 toilets. Now, I'm not saying buying your software is just like buying a toilet. I'm actually saying it's way worse. It's way worse. Like, buying your stuff is way worse than buying a toilet. It's way, way worse. Let's think about how a typical B2B software purchase gets made. Like, let's take something really easy, like accounting software. VP Finance wakes up in the morning and she says, oh, you know what I hate? We're in the middle of this audit and I hate our accounting software. We've outgrown it. It doesn't do what we need to do. And so what does she do? Does she go look for accounting software? No, she's busy. She's in the middle of the audit. She goes into the office and she looks around and she's like, you, Joey, get out there, figure out what accounting software we're going to buy, come back here, tell me which one it is, and and then I'll give you the approval and we'll buy it. And how's Joey feeling? Joey's pissed. Joey's just like, this sucks. I don't know, he's like, I use accounting software, but I don't know who the vendors are in accounting software. I don't know what the state of the art of accounting software features are. And so what's Joey do? He goes on the internet and he researches. And what does he get? 9,000 million packages of accounting software that all look identical. He goes on places like G2 Crowd and there's a top right corner with 15 choices in there. Which one does he pick? He has no idea. He's looking at Gartner Group and Lumascapes and all this stuff. And maybe he gets to your website and he looks around and you got a button in there that says, give me a demo. And he clicks on that button and what happens? Oh, your sales rep is like, amazing. Come on in, Joey. You sit right there. I'm coming over here. Get ready, because I'm putting you in the wind tunnel of features, man. We're going to do the product walkthrough. Here's a feature, here's a feature, here's another feature, here's another feature, here's another feature. And Joey's over here like his hair's blowing back going, oh God, I don't know what any of these things are. I don't know if they're important to me or not. I don't know why I should care about any of these features. And we just make it worse. We make it worse. And then think about Joey for a second. Why is Joey so stressed out? Well, part of the reason is if Joey makes a bad choice here, bad things happen. Bad things happen. Like maybe he picks something and his boss knows it and hates it and his boss thinks he looks like a dummy. Maybe he picks something and the end users hate it and then the whole department hates his guts because he's the idiot that picked that stupid software. Maybe he picks an accounting software platform that doesn't actually do what they need it to do and they fail the audit and man, he might get fired. What is the easiest, lowest risk thing for Joey to do in this situation? Is to do absolutely nothing. It's to go back to his boss and say, you know what? The thing we got right now is fine. It's fine. It's not perfect. We're not married to it, but we got stuff going on right now. We got the audit. Let's just kick the can down the road and we'll do it next year. Just like me in the toilet. Now, if you don't think this happens very often, you're wrong. In fact, the research on this shows that 40 to 60% of B2B sales purchase processes end in no decision. I have worked with a ton of companies that tell me their number for this is 80%. So you have a ton of customers that come in and they can't figure out what to do. So the easiest decision is to simply do nothing. Now, interestingly, when you scratch at the data on that the data tells us it's not because they decided the status quo was better. Nope. It's because they couldn't figure out their options. There were too many choices. They all looked the same. It seemed risky to pick one, so they didn't pick any. Now I want to go back to Toilet Town just for a second. I swear I'll end this stupid analogy soon, but that's not the end of my toilet story. You know what happened? I went back and I told my contractor, hey man, I'm just going to keep the existing toilet. And he's looking at me like I'm crazy. He's like, lady, we recycled the toilet. It's gone to the big bathroom in the sky. It's too late. You got to go buy a toilet. And I'm like, damn it. So I had to go back to the toilet store. So I go back to the toilet store and I meet this guy. His name's John. Come on, that's funny. I did it in the UK and I said his name was Lou and the same thing, crickets. I'm like, Lou, get it? It's a toilet joke. Oh. It's all right, you're hungover, it's all right. So I go back to the toilet store, dude walks up, and he's like, can I help you? And I'm like, you sure can, this is a toilet emergency. I'm not leaving here without a toilet, buddy. You gotta sell me a toilet. And he's like, yeah, I know, buying toilets is really hard, isn't it? And I'm like, yeah, it is, it's really hard. In fact, it's shit. And he said, we don't use that word here, ma'am. It's solid waste. All right, it's been solid waste, buddy. Sell me a toilet. He goes, look. I'm going to teach you how to buy a toilet. It's easy. And I'm like, teach me, toilet Obi-Wan. And he says, look, here's how we do it. You only have to worry about 3 things. Quality, aesthetics, space. I'm like, oh, okay. He says, well, the first one's quality. You know all those features you're looking at, flappers and trapways and all that stuff? Most of that stuff is just a measure of quality. These ones over here, they have more advanced features because they last more flushes. These ones over here, the cheap toilets, they not so high quality, not so many flushes, you're gonna have to call somebody to fix it. I'm like, who buys a low quality toilet? He said, well, actually, a lot of toilets don't get flushed hardly at all. If you got a spare bedroom or a toilet in the basement or a toilet in a vacation property, you'd be stupid to buy one of those ones. You just buy one of these. I'm like, hey, never really thought about that. Well, look, this is my main bathroom, so I don't want one of those. I want one of these. Okay, fine. So that's good. We eliminate half. So the next thing is aesthetics. Some people like, they're going for a certain look in their bathroom. They want a gold toilet, or they want a toilet with a certain thing. And those are all high-quality toilets, but you're going to pay extra for that fanciness. And I said, look, I have no toilet fashion requirements. Let's eliminate those. So we eliminate those. Now we're getting somewhere. We're getting down there. This is the last one, space. Some toilets, they put the tank in the wall and it saves you a whole bunch of space. So if your bathroom's really small, you can fit the toilet in there. And he says the problem with that though is if it breaks, you're gonna have to bust the wall to get in and fix it. So if you got the space, maybe you don't want that. And I said, well, I got a lot of space, so good, we're down to 3 toilets. I'm like, oh, that's amazing. And I said, well, which one should I get? And he says, lady, look, like I gotta come clean. I work for Toto, so I'm gonna tell you to buy the Toto one. But I'll be honest with you, any of these are fine, but if you look at the reviews and stuff, it's a really high quality toilet. It costs $50 more, but if you just want to buy a toilet and never think about your toilet again, that's the one. And I'm like, okay, sold, put the credit card down, done. In and out in like 4 minutes. What happened there? Was he being a pushy salesman trying to force me on one particular toilet over another? No. Was he trying to explain to me every single feature and do me the feature walkthrough thing and talk to me about flappers and stuff? No. What he was actually doing, instead of being what we think of as a salesperson, he's being a guide. He's just giving me a way to think about how to make choices so I can make my own choice and feel confident when I do it. Now, can we do this in software? I think we can. And what's funny is we don't often, and we don't on purpose. Because we think, oh, we're not supposed to talk about the competition. We're going to look like we're bashing the competition. And we don't want to look like pushy salespeople. So we're just going to show you the features, just the facts, Jack. And we're going to let you figure it out. But what's funny, when you look at the research on this, buyers actually want our help. So this is from a study of B2B software purchasers, and they asked them, what do you want in a sales meeting? Like you went to a sales meeting, like, what do you wish the salesperson would do? The top 2 answers, the first one was perspectives on the market. Not your thing, the whole market and where you fit in. And the second one is help me navigate alternatives. How do I make a choice? So people are coming into our sales meetings and they're trying to answer the question, why pick you over the other guys? And they're not getting the answer. All they're getting is a bunch of features and getting more confused than they were before. No wonder nobody buys anything. So could we build a better sales pitch? Is that possible? Of course it is. Otherwise, I wouldn't be standing up here doing this talk. So yeah, so what we want to do is build a pitch that answers the question, why pick us over the alternatives? So most of you would know me as a positioning person, and so it's maybe not surprising that I think a good sales pitch starts with good positioning, but positioning actually answers that question. The positioning defines who are the alternatives, what do you have that's different, and what's the value that you can deliver that no one else can. So what we really want to do in a good sales pitch is take that positioning and translate it into a pitch. We just want to communicate what we already know from our positioning. So now my experience, having worked with like 200 companies as a consultant, is the big problem we have with positioning is a lot of it does not survive the jump from marketing to sales. So what we really want to do is let's take your positioning and translate it into a sales pitch. So here's the structure I'm going to talk about. So in my sales pitch structure, we do this. We start with the market insight. And then we move on to showing features, but within the context of their differentiated value. So my structure has 3 steps at the beginning. I'm going to start with market insight. This is how we view the world. This is our point of view on the market. Here are the alternatives and the pros and cons of the alternative approaches. And here's what we think a customer like you should be looking at when they're looking at a solution. So let me give you an example, because that's kind of theoretical, but here's an example. So Help Scout, you folks might know them. They're in the customer service software space, so Zendesk, think help desk software, like that. And so if they are specifically designed to serve digital products. So companies that don't have stores, don't have salespeople, they're selling entirely online. Now, when you look at the way they built the product, their insight into the market was that for these digital products, customer service is really important, not because you're trying to take the cost out of customer service like your cell phone company does. It's actually really important because it's one of the few times you actually get to interact with a customer. So delivering a great experience is actually a growth driver. It drives customer loyalty, it drives repeat purchases, it actually drives revenue. So they built the product specifically for that. If you look at the comparables, most companies start with a shared inbox. It's easy, everyone can use it. But then what happens is they outgrow that. They need assignments and prioritization, and then they end up looking at help desk software. So let me give you two different pitches here, and I'll show you the contrast between the features pitch versus the pitch with my structure. So the features pitch would look like this. Person comes in, help desk, Help Scout sales rep comes in and says, hey, great, thanks, coming to my product demo. Here's how you get started. Look, here's the shared inbox. Look, here's how this works across channels. Here's how you do assignments, prioritizations. Oh, look at these workflows and integrations and blah, 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 blah. And I keep going until I run out of time. The customer sitting on the other end goes, I don't know, that sounds a bit like my shared inbox. But it also has a lot of features like Zendesk, and maybe Zendesk has some features that these guys don't. So why should I pick Help Scout over the other guys? It's not really clear. Instead, we could do it like this. So we could start with our insight. Customer comes in and we're like, hey, customer that runs a digital business, we work with lots of companies that look just like you. And what we've seen is that businesses like yours see customer service as a growth driver, not a cost center, because it's the only place you get to interact with customers. Would you agree with that? Most of the digital products say, yeah, I actually would agree with that. It's super important. Okay, well, let's look at your options. Now, most of the folks we work with, they start with a shared inbox. It's great because it's really easy to use, and that's awesome. But the minute you start growing and you have too many support people coming in, then you're going to have to migrate to something else because you need prioritization and assignments. And that's when you start looking at traditional help desk software. Traditional help desk software is great in that it has all the bells and whistles, all the features, everything you want. Downside is two things. One, not that easy to use. And two, that software was actually designed to reduce costs. So your customer isn't a customer anymore. They're a ticket number. It's going to try to push your customer to low-cost channels because it's got this different philosophy. Okay, so if we really wanted to solve this problem, like, can we agree for a digital business like yours, which you actually want is three things. You'd love something that's as easy to use as a shared inbox, has all the bells and whistles so I never have to outgrow it, and delivers a customer experience that could really drive growth. Is that what we're looking for? Now, if the customer says, yeah, I got them. Nobody else does this. And then I move to, okay, well, let me show you what we do. And so instead of giving them all the features, I organize the features around my differentiated value, which are these 3 points. All right, easy to use as a shared inbox. Let me show you how we do that. Here's the shared inbox, see how easy it is to use. It's amazing. Two, a bunch of advanced features that you're never going to outgrow. Here's how we do workflows. Here's how we do integrations. Don't have to worry. Don't have to outgrow this stuff. And then lastly, we've designed this entire thing to deliver an amazing customer experience. Look, we don't assign John, your best customer, a ticket number. We get to keep their name. And the customer gets to pick their own way of doing service. If they want to do it via text, they can do it via text. If they want to do it via telephone, we'll do it via telephone. That's really different. So that whole pitch is designed to answer the question, why pick us over the other guys? So again, the structure looks a bit like this. The inputs to each of these things come from your positioning. So this alternatives and pluses and minuses, that's your competitive alternatives out of your positioning. Differentiated value is the third step of your positioning. What do we have that the other folks don't? If you want to know how to do positioning better, I wrote a book on that. It's called Obvious Albums. And then I wrote this other book called Sales Pitch. Oh my God, today's the launch day. Yay! I'm so excited. All right, I'm going to give you another example because I think that talking about this is one thing, but you need the example. So last example. So I work with this company called Level Jump. I love them. They're local to me in Toronto. They recently got acquired by Salesforce. But before the acquisition, these folks are in the sales enablement space, which is terrible. It's terrible. Anybody here in the sales enablement space? You're so lucky. It's like the worst. There's so many competitors. It's really awful. All the things look the same. So what these folks have is their big differentiator is they're the only sales enablement software that's built on top of Salesforce. And you might say, well, so what? Well, so what it means is their data is integrated with Salesforce data. So when you do sales enablement, think sales training when a new rep comes on board, when you do the sales enablement, you can actually see, did the sales enablement improve time to first deal or time to make quota? That's their big value. Really unique. Nobody else can do it. If you look at the landscape, people are doing one of three things. They're either just putting sales material on a shared drive if you're a really small company, but then it becomes the Wild West of content. So then you might upgrade to a content management system, and then you can do, version control and make sure everybody gets the right thing. Or you can use a full-blown LMS, a learning management system, where I can set up a course and certify people on a course, whatever. That's the landscape. All right. Now, when I first started working with these guys, they were doing this feature pitch. So here's how they do it. Customer would come in and they'd say, all right, here's how you log in. Here's how you set up the training. Here's how the reps access the training. Here's how you deliver the training. Here's how you change the training. And at the very, very end, they'd be like, oh yeah, and here's how you measure the results. Totally burying the lead. And so most people would come out of that thing and go, you sound just like everybody else. All those other things do that too. Instead, they switch to this other model. So now what happens is the customer comes in and they say, hey, look, you're the head of sales enablement at a fast-growing tech company. Hey, head of sales enablement. Sales enablement's really important, right? You know why it's really important? It's really important because every day your rep's not making quota costs you money. How much money? We actually have a nice graph here to show you. Like if you can prove that by a month, it's millions of dollars. It's amazing. So they show that. And the head of sales enablement is not going to argue with that. Like, yeah, of course, sales enablement is really important. Okay, well, let's look at your options in sales enablement. You can put everything on a shared drive. That's okay, but it becomes the Wild West. And then, if you could upgrade to a content management system, then you can make sure that everybody's getting the right version of the materials, or you get really fancy, put it in an LMS, and then you could certify everybody on the training. You know what none of these things does? None of them shows you any data that allows you to go back to your boss and say, we did the enablement, this was the impact on sales. So in a perfect world, what we'd actually like to be able to do is measure the impact with sales metrics, and then that would actually help us improve. We'd know what's working and what isn't working. We want that, right? Again, if the head of sales enablement looks at me and says, right, I got him. Like all I gotta do is prove that we do that thing. So then I do that. Okay, so instead of showing you all this stuff that is exactly the same as all of their competitors, they just go right to the good stuff and say, look, this is how we measure the impact of enablement with sales metrics. This is how we track time to make quota. This is how we track time to get the first deal. This is how we make onboarding better to sell more faster. Way more effective sales pitch to these guys. Revenue went like this, Salesforce acquired them, everybody's rich, yay. and so a couple of things to finish this off. So how do we actually get this done? I'm a big believer in cross-functional teams to work on positioning. So most of the work that I do with companies, we get product, marketing, sales together in a room, and we work on the positioning. If we've worked on the positioning together, then it is a really natural thing for product, marketing, and sales then to come together to build the pitch. If sales isn't involved, sales isn't going to use your pitch. It's just that easy. Like if you throw it over there, they'll say, yeah, that's nice. And they'll go back to the old pitch because they're comfortable with the old pitch. They'll complain about it, but they're comfortable with it. And so we can't actually do it like that. What we actually want to do is take one sales rep, ideally your best sales rep, train them on the new pitch, and then let's test it and tune it with one rep until the one rep is really comfortable with it. And then your pass-fail criteria is if your rep says, yeah, you know what, this pitch is better, and I'm not going back to the old pitch. Once we get there, then I can take that rep and have that rep help train everybody else. Now I got sales talking to sales, and your best rep will be going, you know what, this is way better than the old pitch. See these deals in the pipeline. I got it with this pitch. You'd be crazy not to use this pitch. That's how we get it. If it fails for some reason, it's not because the pitch is bad. It's because the positioning is bad. Generally, that's it. So if it's not working in sales, you've got a positioning problem. You've actually got to go back to positioning. And then lastly, the pitch should never change unless the positioning changes. If sales starts monkeying around with it, there's no reason to do it unless there's something going on that we should actually be going back to our positioning, like a new competitor has started to show up, or maybe somebody's caught up with us and things that we're differentiating are no longer differentiating. But that's it. Thank you so much for coming out. This slide says, yeah, thanks. And like two little things. This slide says questions, but I'm not going to take your questions. Too bad. I'm going to be on the talk shop thing at the back, and then you can ask me questions there. And like maybe somebody's going to announce something with this new book. I don't know. I'm not allowed to say, but anyways. Okay, thank you. I'm done. Bye.